Hello everyone, welcome to Coding Vlog. So in this video, we will talk about how we handling text input and touches in React Native. So let's see in previous video, if you can see, we have this text input with on-change text property. So every time text changes in this text field or text input, uh, the states are gonna change. So let's see if this still works because I think I delete the console log. Yeah, I delete the console log. So okay, this every time we change the state change and returning that into this text. So uh, now we're gonna make a text input that, yeah, a simple text input, maybe like uh, adding two numbers or blah blah blah. Let's see now if we can see in here. Maybe we can, yeah, leave that like that, and then okay. So let's make a function. Let's call a do add. So this function will add two numbers, and then okay, let's delete this text and okay, change it whatever you want. Input 0, input 1 is 0, so this will store the input 1 that later will be set by this function, and then input 2, input 2, which is 0 as well. mm, let's Why is it, yeah, like that. So what will be this function doing is adding this to state. So maybe we can say let result as this dot state dot input plus this dot state input 1, sorry, this dot state dot input 2, and semicolon, forget that. And then let's console.log the result plus console.log result. So okay, this function will add these two value in here, input 1, input 2, and print it in console. Okay, let's just call the function in here, this do add. Oops, so remember that this, because it's function in this class, so you have to use this do add. Okay, maybe if you use this, just control to make it more beauty. Yeah, console.log result. Okay, so let's see if this work now. Okay, it's 0. Yeah, and let's say I have this text is now undefined, so we have to change this into input 1. Input 1 is gonna be this text because this text is passed into this function. So maybe if you are wondering how is this happen, so we can uh, make a function like on text change. It's kinda confusing, but yeah, let's just do it. So what this uh, function do is pass a variable, maybe you call text or input 1 or input, whatever you want, on text change input. So we can delete this now, and then you okay, just cut it. Where is it? Okay, right there. Haha. So on text change, it's gonna run this function that this dot state dot input one is equal to input. This is just the same, but if you write it in this line, in line like with this element or component, maybe confuse you. But if it's in here, you can just now call it maybe like this dot in on text change passing a variable input. It's just the same, but with this kind of approach, you can see how this on change text running this function, this particular function in here, passing a input variable in here, which is the text input itself, what it is value. So value, maybe you can change this to this state input one, because we are setting this to input one. So let's see if input is not defined. Where my component? Mm, 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 mm. Maybe in here. Let's say this as text. Oh, yeah. I forgot that. Uh, this onChange text is actually returning a variable, a value, its value, what you type in that input. So you have to make a function in this. So maybe it's the same like we did before, but you can maybe like have uh, another whatever you want the function call. So you have to pass the variable in here and then pass it into your text change function with that particular text. This now calling passing into this function that running this function and passing the text value itself to this. So now you have uh, this fail prop type invalid prop value of type number supplied text input expected string. Okay, let's just see what's happening here. You have because result this state input one is now this value we, and then it's adding itself into this state input 2, which is 0, and then add it into. So this 0 value is automatically casted by JavaScript into a string. So why you see 0 in here? So what you gonna do in here, you need to make sure that, oh my god, sorry about that. So you have to delete this and then you cast this into a float or integer. So just use integer now, parse integer. So now you pass integer. So it's maybe like, okay, this particular input state input one is uh, converted into integer. So let's see what is it now. Okay, I think we have some trouble in here. What is okay, let's delete this because it's already confusing now. Maybe we can change this into text. Like, yeah. Okay. Okay. So the value, yeah. So this text is actually the value of this text input. So you don't need to change this, just leave it like that. And then now you can see none. So because you type it like alphabetic in here, A, but what is the integer of A? You don't know it. But if you type 1, uh, the converter function this parse integer know that this is 1, integer 1. This is a string, but it's an integer, so it converts this 1 value. So now you have 1. If you maybe change this into 5, let's say 5. So you know that if you type 1 will be 6. That's maybe uh, how it's work. So now you have this result, which is add this value input 1 into this input 2, which is 5. 1 plus 5 is 6. So now you have to uh, print it or show it into your component in here, in your view. So maybe you can say result in here, but you don't have a state result in here, so you make one result. Maybe the initial value of result is 0. So what you're gonna do is you call the set state in here. Set state, the result in the state is equal to result, is this result. So now you can see in here, we reload this. Okay, you don't have you can do this because it's always rendering every time, because whenever you add, it's every time you doing add function, it always change the state. So you see that render function is kind of looping forever. So now what you should do is you run this do add every time you change the text. Makes sense. So you can see this do add. This is maybe like explain apa what simple things. 1 plus 5. Oh, what is going on here? 1 plus 5 is 5. What? Ah, yeah. Okay. Okay. So you cannot do this. You cannot do this. You have to make a trigger, maybe like a button. So we can make a button in here. Okay, button with title is add and on press. So this on press is required. So every time you press, you have to uh, call a function. So we have the function is this do add now. Call a function this dot do add. Now you can see in here you have an error or warning, missing import statement. You have to import it as well from React Native library. Okay, now we can reload this and you have this sweet little button in here. If you press 1 and add, you can see it's adding into 5. So what are we gonna do now is make one more input. Let's see here, text input, and then this on text change. So now this is what is called, if you make like this on text change is always setting the state of input 1. So what you should do is simply delete this and change this into how we setting the state like before. So now you have this input 1, and then in this you can change this into input 2, which is now is, because this is unresolved, you can see in here it's an error. You have to change this into this text. So now you have input 1 is now set by this text input. Every time you change, every time this text inputs change, it sets this input 2 into this text, into its value. So now if you see, there are two input text now. If you set this in here 1, add, it's 6, because this input 2 is 5, the initial value. So change this into 0. 1 plus 0, 0 plus 0, 1 plus 0, 1, 1 plus 5, 6. You see now it's already adding itself. Yeah, already add all of these two variable. So that's all. If you wanna add more, maybe button like subtract, you just change this. You add do subtract, change this into minus sign. Of course, delete this log thing. So you now have a two function, and then you just have to add a button in here. Let's call subtract, and this is do subtract. Okay, now if you reload in here, you have to button add and subtract. So 1 minus 3 is minus 2, of course. 9, 6. So it's working. Okay, I think that is handling touch and text input. So this touches is that button. So you can see here, you can do an alert. Also, you need every time is everything that you can learn in here. You can see this touchable component. So this touchable works same as button, but you can customize it more. So you can see here, if the basic button doesn't look right for your app, you can build your own button using any of the touchable components. So it works like a button, but it's more customizable. Okay. Handling touches, text input. Maybe we can add more into this video, into this flexbox layout. So this flexbox is working like if it HTML bootstrap, maybe like call MD, so stuff like that. So this view is a div with flex is 1, so it covers entire screen. uh, with direction is row, so row is from left to right. So if you change this into column, so let's see, so it's gonna from top to down. So flex direction is to column, and if you row, it's into row. You can set the width and height of this view. You can change this into in this view. You can maybe add another element or text button, something like that. Then you have this justify contents. Justify is like um, vertical line, stuff like that. And line item is like vertical line, horizontal line. So maybe we can add it into our code in here. So let's see, I have this title. So you can see these two inputs now is one in top and one in bottom. So we can make it more uh, beauty maybe. And this button add m subtract, maybe you can. So I think now we have to make this button to be a row like this, in a row like this. So now you should add a view, view in here, and add all of this button into this view. So this view is works like a div. So this button is now in this view uh, component element. So you have to make a style. What is it? Okay, flex one direction row. Okay, let's copy paste this. Let's see what happened. Okay, so if you can see in here, this view is now covering all of this area because the flex is 1, so it's not good. So what you can do in here is now we can delete this flex and let, so you can see now it's in a row. Maybe, yeah, it's in a row, and you see there's a small space in here. You can fix it, and this text input is not looking good. You can change this in this as well. So maybe you can change move it into this, and then let's say this button view. So it's working like a CSS. It's the same but different naming. If it's in CSS, you can line items like this, but in JavaScript, in React, it's one line, and the space or the dash is now deleted, and capital letter. So okay, now you have this flex direction row in here, and then in this you can see the styles button view. It will be the same. Yeah, it will be the same. So okay, now you have this, and then you change this text input into style with width. Oops, width. Maybe 200, and this is, well, it's 200. Maybe it will be good if you. Okay, now this is input 1. You can place a placeholder in here. So maybe you can see this input 1, and this placeholder is input 2. Now you have a placeholder in here. And then this result is, maybe you can say you have to make it bigger. Font size. Font size is maybe 24. Okay, now it's bigger. Yeah, it's working. So maybe it's looking a little bit better than before. So you now have this add button. So in here you can now justify content, space around, I think. So space around is you're adding some space, and then it determines whether uh, how its ratio to the edge of this view button view. Now you can see that this button view is technically aligned center by this container. So what you have to do is, I think you can delete this because it's justify the content into a center of this view, all container view in here. Okay, now it's okay. I think okay. You have to set a width. Yeah, you have to set a width because this button view is determining its size itself automatically by React Native. So you have to set the width of this particular view, maybe 300. Now, so you can see that this button view, this view is having the width of 300 pixel. So this is maybe 300 pixel, and then they this button view is adding the space around in every single component in here. So this is a space. Hey button, set the space around you and you also as well. So maybe you can set this a little bit. Okay, so now you have add and subtract with space around, space evenly, whatever you want. You can see. Oh, that's not space evenly. Yeah, it's space evenly. What's wrong? Okay, just use space around. Okay, so that's flex box things. This flex direction row. So let's say you add a flex in here and change this into column. We'll be now making a flex that direction to its column. See, now you see the flex is now um, making itself into this all area because flex is one, so it's one area in here, and its direction is from top to bottom, and the content is having a space around it. So this is what happened. That's it. Just delete this, change it into see a column. Column is from top to that's it. Now you have to change it into row. Everything back to normal. Okay, what else? I think that's all. I think that's all from this uh, flexbox and height and width can it's included in this video. I think handling text input. This text input is 1 and this 2. Set the state of input 1, input 2 every time the text changes, and this input 2 as well. You subtract it you add it. You have a button to call this add and subtract. I think that's all. If I think it's a simple calculator thing. Okay, maybe I will post this code in my GitHub, so you can download it or clone it into your local computer and play around with it. Okay, I think that's all in this video. Please like if you like it, dislike, comment. What's your thought about this video? Uh, what should I improve? Just feel free, and thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Bye bye.